and we're gonna get right into this tutorial because I don't want you to have to wait any longer. Transparent stickers, have a problem with them? I did too. Let's figure these out together. And that's it, it's done. You shouldn't have to worry. Don't worry. Are you worried? Don't worry. Hi guys, I'm Critterosity and I am teaching you how to make kiss cut sticker sheets on transparent vinyl. I'm trying to do all the trial errors. You're actually gonna get a double tutorial in this because while I was filming, I actually learned something that maybe will help you out. Now, I'm still learning here and maybe what I'm doing would slow you down. Do whatever you need to do. The comments are for sharing and caring and I appreciate you guys for being so kind about it as I learned. Now, I bought my Cricut for $40 at a thrift store back in December 2023. I don't go into your house and judge, so please don't come here and judge my filthy Cricut mats or anything like that. This tutorial I put together only because no matter how much I searched, it was the one thing I really didn't find any information on. I'm gonna break down how this video is going to go because I'm kind of ADD and I cannot sit very long during a tutorial and I want the news quick. But I also understand some people need more of a breakdown. So I'm gonna give you all three. First, we're gonna go through it very quickly, then we're gonna do the breakdown, and then we're gonna do a recap. Simple as that. I'm going to share my materials with you, my printer, the ink I use, how I use it, and also the settings on my Cricut, and a bit on the layers, but you can refer back to my Kiss Cut sticker sheet tutorial, which I filmed not that long ago, and you can find it linked in the description below. Now, if you're digging my channel and you want more of this, please comment with things you want to learn, maybe something you hope that I'm going to learn and can share with you. I have a Cricut Explorer, not a maker, so I am limited on a few things, but not too much. If you are digging this channel, please subscribe and like. That's all I can ask of you guys. Getting me more views means I want to make more tutorials and share my studio life. I truly appreciate it. First things first, you have to cover underneath your light with some Scotch tape. And that's because it has like a clear coating to it where the other ones are actually also glossy and shiny, which is the same problem with your transparent sticker papers. Now, I can't take full credit here because I did learn this through another tutorial. And what they say to do is take a piece, I don't know, about 2 inches, I would say. This is maybe 2 1/4. It might be too long. You'll kind of figure out what works. I'm sliding it under and using my little weeding tool right here. Now, I already have my tape on it, but what I did was I just kind of went under the tape and lifted up and pushed against the edge. And then I went to the other side. It's almost like you're cleaning a tooth. And I went on the other side. I checked through the back here. I even took my scissors at times and just kind of opened the blade up and just gently went upward and made sure it got caught on the bottom side. But you want it to be flat against the bottom, and then you can just curl the rest and the excess around the edges and push in. And this is where the questions come in, and I always forget that there's going to be questions when I post a tutorial. So continue to ask those questions. If you're not watching live and in the chat box, you can certainly leave a question in the comments, or you can always reach out to me through any of my social media or my email. Here's the deal. There are register lines on the transparent paper and anything you print out through the Cricut design space. With a regular vinyl sticker sheet or anything you're using that is a matte, it's going to read those lines really easily because there's no reflection. With a transparent sticker sheet, you're going to get that nice glossy coat like a photo gloss paper. It's going to bounce that light back up into it and it's not going to be able to register it. This is why we've created a diffuser with that Scotch tape. It's diffusing the light so it's not creating such a bright light and it still can actually read the guidelines. People are using tape and they're constantly taping over these guidelines so it reads it. You go through so much tape. This way it helps so much, but there is another step you have to do. All right, when you open up Cricut Design Space and you get the page like this, you're going to hit the hamburger menu on the left and you're going to go to settings. When you get to settings, you are going to do print then cut settings there at the top. Now you're going to do calibrate your machine. This will walk you through it. It is so easy. If you guys have any more questions during this process, let me know, but honestly, just follow it and it's quite easy to do. It's going to print out a page just like this, and I'm using simple printer paper, nothing fancy. Now that you've done this whole test and you've calibrated, you should have your tape registered as part of the machine. Are we done yet? Almost. We are so close. If you already know how to do Kiss Cut sticker sheets, I'm going to tell you what I'm doing. Now, just because I cut out on my Cricut a certain way, it doesn't mean you have to do it, doesn't mean the settings are gonna work. I just found out my first deep cut knife is actually very dull. I didn't know it would go dull that quickly, but I have done a lot of projects and tested out so many things. I didn't even realize how much I was using the deep cut blade. But this is where I tell you, the deep cut blade is going to be your best friend during this process. I have found that every time I use fine point, it does not go through the vinyl. Let me show you what vinyl I'm using. To make these beautiful transparent stickers, I am using, I think it's called the Joyiza transparent stickers. This is the premium transparent and it's a vinyl sticker paper. So this is still vinyl. It's waterproof because I have not used a dye ink. I am using a pigment ink by Cosmos Ink. If you've already put in the basic inkjet dye inks into your printer, this will not work. This is why I had to buy a new printer too. Trust me, I'm highly irritated by it, but it's coming out beautifully. What is pigment ink and why is it so important? It's because it's not your typical inkjet where it's not waterproof. This is waterproof. But the problem with this is that you probably need a new printer. It can still be a cheapo printer. I am using the Epson EcoTank 2803, which is the same as the 2800. They just came out with them in Target and Walmart only, but it's the same model. I put the Cosmos ink in it from the get-go, and then keeping up on the ink to make sure that it doesn't dry out, it doesn't run out, and if you're printing stickers a whole bunch, you make sure you check that ink all the time, and that printer will tell you. Now, I'm just going to show you guys really quick before we go into setting up the files. When you print out a vinyl sticker sheet, it's something that's a white background. Normally you can put a cool background and it usually doesn't affect anything. You can also do it with the transparent stickers, but to be honest, I try to just do the little shapes around the characters and that's it. When you add a background color, it adds a tint to it. This is how transparent they are. Now, as you can see, I brought in some different items to show you what it would look like if you put it on dark versus light, and it really does show everything behind it. So I don't suggest making these and putting them on anything that's full of color. You can, but as you can see, you're going to start to lose the character and the colors. If you go a little bit lighter, about a medium beige, this is one of my manila folders, it still looks cute. It's still there. As you press it down, you'll start to notice the colors pop a bit more. And then, of course, you have white. And white is going to be the best bet for whatever you're going to do. And this vinyl is phenomenal. And I have listed it in the description below, so you can click on the link and find my Amazon storefront and purchase the same if you like it. But this is why I don't even bother putting a color on the background, because it'll just barely add it and it's just not worth it. But hey, you'll find out what works best for you. I'm going to speak layers really fast for those of you that just need the layout and then ready to go. I set up my canvas and I have a transparent background. I'm not doing anything. I just picked a shape to go around it, and I've set up all of my sheets in my Procreate app, a little liner that goes around the edges so it knows where to cut. If you do the same color background, I have found it doesn't find it or register it with the transparent paper. I've also found that with this paper, I had to remove the layer with a block of color for the background in order for it to cut because it was the same color. Now, I'm still learning, so hey, don't judge me. I'm not judging you. We're learning together. I have just a basic canvas for sticker sheets, so all my sticker sheets are in here and I turn them on as I need different designs on it. But that way, once I set up my little background, I can just bring my new sticker sheet in and keep using the same one every time. As I speak layers here, don't freak out. I'm going to go slower, but let's just knock it out for people that know everything else about Kiss Cut sticker sheets. I'm going to walk you through the layers and then move you to settings, and then boom, you go have fun, practice it. If you want to stay for the little bit longer round of this, plus I will do a recap, then maybe you'll have it down. And if you have any questions, again, there is a comment section. I would love to know if you have more questions. Maybe it's something I don't even know and you want to be kind and share with me like, hey, you don't need to do that step. But we all learn differently and I want to make sure there's something for everybody. These are my layers. I've been asked now several questions from my Kiss Cut video, which you can go to and also learn that way. And then you just apply it to the transparent stickers, basically. I just don't add a backer card to the transparent stickers. This is a cut line. So the shapes are just to cut out as a solid shape. This is not a background color or anything like that. It's just reading it as cut around the edge of these. So what I've done is in my first layer, I have my little sticker sheets. Okay, so that's just my sticker sheet layer. It's a PNG. I bring in 2 of those, put them on top of the blocks. If you're wondering why I've attached so many squares, because I've added a shape, okay, and I pick the square and then I size it a 4x6 and then I fit my little pictures in. If you're wondering why I have so many layers of this, that's how many times it's gonna cut. And let me tell you, I have this that many times to cut through my layers and it's not enough. And I thought at first I was cutting through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times, but it's not. 5 of those is one of them and 5 is the other. But I did attach all of the squares once I had them lined up and set exactly where I want them to go. Now, I'm assuming anyone watching this portion of it is like, I already got it. Awesome. Let's move on. So reminder, you can rewind and rewatch these as many times as you like to get the information. I just want to move fast for those of you like me that are ADD and super excited to get started. So the more times you want to cut, the better. But you don't want it to cut your characters a bunch of times because you don't want it to go through the back. So you only want it to cut those one time on each sheet. I've put those on their own attachment. I've attached all of my several blocks together. I'm actually going to up this to 8 cuts on each block, which means I need to add even more so it keeps cutting around over and over. If you only do 1 or 2, it's going to barely make a cut through. This is because I'm using the washi sheet setting. You can try other settings, but that has worked perfectly for me and I don't want to change it, which is what I'm sharing is my story. So you can apply what works for you and what doesn't. You can find another alternative. But remember, it's on washi sheet, so it's kiss cutting through. So we want that first one to kiss cut and just get that nice little peel, which it's the same on both. I kept it to show you guys that it didn't cut all the way through. So see, I can't even get the kiss cut part out. And that's because I needed to change my pressure to more. And then I picked the deep cut blade and then it cut it perfectly through on the next one. But you only want it to do it one pass. You can always do it a second pass, but I suggest just once. And then the outside edge needs to be cut several times. I found out that it wouldn't cut through, not because my pressure wasn't set right. It was actually because my blade was dull. So I put in a new blade. Other sites are going to tell you to mark these off with tape. And that is why we've put the Scotch tape on the bottom, because it will read those lines much better once the light isn't reflecting. And you guys can see that's exactly what the light is doing when it tries to find the guidelines. It starts to make it disappear for it and it can't read it. Now that you've made sure all your layers are attached, you click Make It, Next, and then your printer settings come up. All right, I'm going to put mine on color. I've done color and color fine and it works the same. This is all through my Cricut design space. It's not me like exporting it to something else. There's matte paper for when you're printing on vinyl. So I do photo high gloss paper and I hit print and now we're gonna wait for it to come out. So if you do invest in an Epson, I found on other places, you do have to hit OK and up every single time I go to print. Once in a while, it'll pull the paper down as is. Because I'm a trial and error kind of person, I don't like to read instructions. I really don't like watching tutorials, but they've been so helpful. It's kind of made me fall back in love with them. Every now and then, my printer will kind of give out at the end because there's a warning sign that says like your printer isn't working. And I hit the cancel button and I've been wondering, why is that cancel button keep showing up? And I keep hitting cancel on the cancel button. And what it does is it ends wherever I hit cancel and it just fades out. And if there's no guidelines to follow, it's not going to cut it. So I'm using another one because we don't need these extra little areas. And I'm going to try to makeshift this. I've been trying to outsmart the Cricut since I've gotten it. It's almost identical to where the other ones were. Now it may not work. It's not going to lay down perfectly. I mean, at this point, I was going to lose the sticker sheet anyway because it wouldn't cut it out and I'd have to cut by hand, which is totally fine. I try to recycle any that I can, even if there's no peel. You will know right away if it's not going to work because it'll stay in one corner and try to find the register lines over and over and over until eventually your Cricut will say, sorry, it can't find the lines. Usually it'll bounce from one corner to the next corner very fast. Alright, so this one's moving a little faster. True test is if it registers this line because I put it right over the other one. It moved away from it. That's a plus. Right, so far it's read both the lines. It says it's about to start cutting. Here we go. It worked, you guys. Putting a little layer over, and you're finding this out at the same time as me. Common sense is key with the Cricut. I am learning that. So again, you will hear the tape moving around. Don't freak out. As long as you have it attached pretty well and you can't even get it off from under the light, you're okay. It's just hitting the rollers as it passes through. So layer number 1 is going around. That's 1. We're going with layer number 2 and so on. And this is exactly why we create those blocks 8 times in it. So with all of the passes, it does take a long time to kind of just sit here and wait, but I usually work on other things, and you really can't use the Cricut Design Space during this time if you are new here, only because it needs to keep you posted on what it's doing. And I don't close the app, I don't go out of it. Losing a sticker sheet, when you pull the sticker sheet out, it can't reset in the same spot. You will never feed it in the exact same way. I wish there was a way they would put it a little closer so that when you feed it back in, there's only one way to go in, but there is a little give on each side, and so sometimes you'll be a little too right or a little too left. Let's find out the truth. You guys got a double tutorial on accident today, and you can see where I've added on these little guidelines from the other one where it didn't print. So far, it's peeling up, but I don't know, 8 passes. Do you see this? This is how thick this paper is. 8 passes, brand new blade. It definitely is coming off. I always find that in this little spot, sometimes it doesn't want to peel very well, so I'll just take it over to my little cutting station and cut the edge, but it went through enough. Anytime I get these little remnants, I just trim them off. It's not a big deal. Now let's see, the back is perfect. It didn't go through because we only did 1 pass. And one thing I want to remind you is sometimes they do tend to get a little stuck because of the vinyl and maybe it didn't cut through in one spot. So just when you peel, just take your time as you peel them up, and you'll find it very appealing. I'm learning what works, what doesn't work. So sometimes with my last blade, I could do 8 passes and it was perfect. It would cut them all out perfectly. But I'm finding with this one lately, it's been that I need to do almost 10 passes to get it completely through without having to worry about trimming the edges. But it is really easy. And this is where that mistake happened, where my printer turned off. Happy mistake, because it looks like they're glowing. All right, so here comes the simple breakdown that you can rewatch as many times as you like. I'm going to talk fairly quick, but you can rewatch, pause, and take all your notes as we go. Open up Cricut Design Space. Go to your canvas. I've learned a little bit since then that I can just set up my backgrounds and attach them all in the same location. If you need to learn how to space them out, again, the tutorial is down below, and you can click on that for Kiss Cut sticker sheets, just generic, and how to set up your layers. Once you have it set up, it should literally just be a layer on each one for your characters' PNG files. And you want to make sure they have that outline attached to those in Procreate to bring it over. If you don't use Procreate, you might have to use the offset button, and I don't know how to do that. Honestly, it was so confusing. Procreate was the way, and I'm so sorry, Android users. I hear you. I wish there was a way. You have to make sure they're all attached in order to make it. This would just be highlighting everything and clicking the attach button. It should look like this. It shouldn't say, do you want it on a 12 by 12 mat or anything like that. It should go right to this stage here. Then you hit next again. If you've already printed, you can skip the printing step if you need to print it. I've already printed it and I have it ready to go. So I've already printed. Here is how I set my materials up. All materials. Search washi. I do not do washi tape. I do the washi sheet. I don't know. It seems to work best for me. And then I've got my pressure set to more. And when it asks me about my tools, I'm going to do the deep point blade. Now, I found that I could go over this a couple more times. So I've actually set it to cutting it out 10 times around. So here are the steps taken from beginning to end. Tape under the light, making sure it's secure. It is going to drag against the wheels and make annoying noises. You're going to see it on mine, but it's doing the job, so it doesn't matter. We learned to calibrate. You have to calibrate once you change something. We've talked about why pigment ink is important and converting any kind of printer, but do your research because not every printer can be turned into a sublimation printer or a pigment ink printer. So if you need to learn the Kiss Cut layout, you can definitely rewatch that several times until you feel comfortable, and then you can start to print on the transparent sticker sheets. Like I said, pretty much the only difference is you don't add a backer card, so no color. I just leave the little characters cut out with their outlines. PNG file and bring it in to the Cricut design space. Setting up your layers, making sure you have enough cut lines going around to cut through your transparent vinyl. Once you've set up your little sticker sheets, 2 layers, dividing them up on 2 different sheets and using the square block if you prefer that as a cutout. You can also go with a sharp square edge, cut your own corners, whatever you want to do. Make sure you have attached your layers at the very top by grouping all of them together and hitting the attach button. This will make sure it doesn't just cut out the shapes, but also it focuses on the stickers on the inside of the squares. Once you go to make it, you'll see that it shows you the little layout with all this individual stickers on the square. Click next. You can print it out on your printer, and you can also skip this step if you've already printed out and ready to go. Print out like 10 pages, and then once you've printed out all the pages, you can then hit I've already printed on the right hand side. Once you get to the next step, you're going to search washi sheet. Then you're going to select the pressure, which I use more pressure. I put the deep cut blade in, which you certainly can pick that. If you know a way to do it with fine point, you can absolutely use the comments below to share your settings and what you've discovered. Print and cut, and that's it. It's done. You shouldn't have to worry. Don't worry. Are you worried? Don't worry. I hope you guys have learned how to make transparent stickers with this, and one of the biggest keys is Pigment ink. It's waterproof and it holds up really well. And we also found out we can recycle guidelines from transparent sticker sheets, and I'm sure this would work on a vinyl if you do lose any of your guidelines. Saving your old guideline papers and cutting them out and matching them up. Some of the vinyl paper sheets could be translucent enough that if you put it maybe on a light box or something, or even over your iPad with that luminance coming through, you might be able to line it up pretty perfectly and also save any that you might have asked for it to cut out the backer board and you totally forgot about the stickers. But remember, once you unload and try to load it back in, it's not going to line up the same. So be really careful if you're doing that. You can also do the quick trick, which is leave it loaded. When it's done and starts to feed out, it'll tell you to hit the unload button. Don't unload it. Hit the C again and it will load it back in without it changing position. So that's the best way that maybe you can test it before you peel it off the paper. It's kind of like finding out the cookies haven't cooked all the way through. So what do? You put it back into the oven. Just make sure you don't unload the whole mat. You want to keep it right where it is and just hit the Cricut button again and it will recut all of your lines. But be careful, because with Kiss Cut sticker sheets, if it does it a second time around the characters and not just the backer card, what could happen is it'll cut all the way through the back. But you can definitely test it out and find out if it works. Hopefully I've covered enough in this tutorial that you are willing to like and subscribe. I appreciate you. Thank you for joining me for another tutorial. You can check out all my vlogs and all of my different things that I'm doing with my studio, and hopefully I'll see you around.